If you can eliminate these three things in watercolor painting, your paintings will become more sophisticated, more polished, more professional, more fresh, and you will elevate your work to another level. Before we dive into today's lesson, I have a free gift for you. Watercolor is not a very forgiving medium. It's hard to correct. So having a plan from the beginning is crucial. That's why I created this free video lesson, 7 Secrets of Fresh, Powerful Painting. I give you 7 powerful tips that will help you plan your painting, mindfully paint your scene, and most importantly, know when you are done and avoid overworking. Many students have already watched this video lesson and are seeing great results, and I know that it can help you out as well. All you have to do is follow the link in the description down below, and you can start painting more fresh and powerful paintings. All right, back to the video. We all have bad habits that we develop as we're learning a new craft. And we might not know that we're doing these. We might not know that these are bad habits. So what I'm going to do today is tell you 3 things that I see a lot of watercolor students doing that are not good for their paintings. Some of them are habits that we've created out of convenience. That brings us to our first one. Number 1, painting a large area of the painting with one puddle of paint. And this happens when we mix up a large puddle of paint and it's already there for us and we're just dipping our brush into it and coming back over and over and over. And before you know it, you've created a very large, boring area of your painting. So here's what you're missing out on when we are painting from one mixture for a large section of the painting. We're missing out on the most beautiful aspect of watercolor painting, and that is the mixing of colors on the paper. The beautiful thing that happens when we get these soft, lovely transitions from one color to another. The more that we can allow this to happen on the paper, the more beautiful our paintings are going to be. If you're painting from one mixture, your painting becomes lifeless, it becomes dull, it becomes boring. We're lacking nuance, we're lacking freshness. If you feel like this is something that you struggle with, here are some things that can help you. The first thing we want to do is pre-mix more than one color. Say for instance, you're painting a large mass of trees. So you think green, right? So you mix up one color of green and you use that color for that whole mass of trees. You can mix up your standard green that you want to use. Then, on part of the puddle, you can mix in a cooler version of that color. And in another area, you can mix up a warmer version of that color. Now you have 3 options right there. You have your base color, you have a warmer version of your color, and a cooler version of your color. You can allow these mixes to mix on your paper to create that vibrancy, that nuance that we need. You can have multiple colors already mixed, already preloaded on a couple different paintbrushes. So use more than one paintbrush. I know it can be tricky if you have your favorite brush and you just need to use this brush all the time. Buy 2 of them. And what this is going to do, it's going to make it a lot easier. All you have to do is switch out the brush. Now you are creating more interest on your painting. And when you do that, you will continue to unlock a beautiful aspect of our medium that we should be taking advantage of. These differences in colors do not need to be drastic, over-the-top mixes, just subtlety. Add some subtlety, some nuance to your painting. And you'll be surprised at the sophistication and the elegance that this can introduce into your work. If you're mixing colors on the paper and you're not painting large areas with all the same puddle. Give that a try. Bad habit number 2, painting too fast. One of the hardest parts about being a watercolor artist is thinking in reverse. We are laying in our lightest values. We are painting around some of those light values to preserve colors in our next wash. And then finally, we are adding in the darks and the details of our scene that bring the whole thing together. But what happens when we're not used to painting in this way? We rush. We move too quickly. We want our painting to look like something right away. It's hard to be patient, and it's hard to trust the process, especially if we're not used to painting in this way. So we must learn to slow down. That's where the push and the pull of watercolor comes into play. Because if we paint too slowly, our edges dry up, maybe creating some disasters along the way, because watercolor is a very immediate medium. You can work quickly with watercolor. It demands that you move quickly. But if we move too quickly and we don't understand what we're trying to accomplish each step along the way, that's when we get into problems. If I'm painting my first wash and I'm thinking about light values, but then I get distracted by a middle value or a dark value, and I go ahead and paint that dark value, it's kind of like dominoes. If I start doing this, then I need to do this. If I'm painting this dark, well, that leads right into this dark. And before you know it, you've chased your tail. That doesn't even make any sense. You've run off in a whole nother direction and tried to paint ahead before it's time. And here's what happens when we can be patient, when we can understand what we're trying to accomplish within each wash of our painting. We create a solid, well thought out painting. We have a full range of values. We have the lightest of lights, we have strong middle value connections, and we have the darkest of darks. We have light in our scene. We have a connected, fresh painting that doesn't look overworked and that was clearly thought out. That is our goal. But if we're rushing ahead and getting ahead of ourselves and not following the recipe, and there is a recipe, and I've talked about this before, watch my video on the recipe for a successful painting. If we can stick to the recipe, we can have success. So here are some things that we can think about to be disciplined in our approach, to not get ahead of ourselves. Have a vision for your painting. What are you trying to create? Have a good idea of that before you start. Then you can reverse engineer the scene. We can think to ourselves, in the first wash, I want to include all my lightest values. List out the colors that are needed. Go ahead and pre-mix on my palette the colors that I need for my first wash. List out your objectives. I want to get rid of the white of the paper, unless there's a white area that you're trying to preserve. What are the lightest parts of my scene? What colors are needed? List out those objectives before you start the first wash of your painting. Now you can do the same thing with your middle value wash. What is the large connected shape of the scene? What colors am I going to need in this large shape? What edges am I going to need? Where are the hard edges? Where are the softer edges? Think through these things before you start your middle value wash. And then finally, what are the darks of the scene? What detail is essential? Think through those things before you paint the darks and the details of your scene. Don't get carried away with the moment. Think about the goal, follow the recipe, and don't paint too fast. If you can do this, this will change your paintings. You will improve every time you are mindful, you have a plan, you take your time, and you follow the recipe. Bad habit number 3, including everything in our reference photo. So many times in my own painting early on, and in so many students' paintings, I see them including everything in their reference photo in the painting. Wrong. We're not taking a picture of the scene and just translating a picture into a watercolor version of the picture. No. We are taking the essence of what inspires us, what moves us, and amplifying that in our painting. You are the artist. You are in charge. Do not be overly loyal to your reference photo. You can eliminate things. You can move buildings around. You can change the height of a mountain. You can add people. You can add in animals, signs of life. You can bring the scene to life. You can change anything you want to create a good composition. So many times, I see a student's painting or one of my older paintings that is a literal transition of a photograph into a watercolor painting. You have the right to add and subtract, to create, to move things around as much as you need to create a compelling and interesting painting. Remember, you are in charge. You are the artist. Use that creative license to create something that's compelling, something that's interesting, and don't feel like you have to include everything that's in your reference photo. Bring the scene to life in your own vision. That is what an artist does, and you're an artist. Those are my 3 things. Change these 3 bad habits and you will move forward. Stop painting a large area of your painting with one color from one puddle. Stop painting too fast. Don't jump ahead. Follow your plan. Follow the recipe. Don't include everything. Simplicity is key. If you can do these 3 things, you are going to be miles ahead in your painting. Your best paintings are ahead of you. Keep working at it, keep moving forward, and I will see you next time. If there's something that you're struggling with and you'd like me to make a video about it, leave that in a comment below. I want to make sure that these videos are as helpful as they can be for you. Thank you for spending time with me here today. I will see you next time.